One of my favorite stories from the 2023 college football season was the rise of Arizona football. A few years ago, they were considered a dead program, and no one thought Jedd Fisch would be able to do anything there. After a terrible start, Arizona football ended up breaking out completely in 2023 and had a couple of really insane games and really good players. As they now head over to the Big 12, Arizona should be a favorite team to finish in the top 4 of the league, and I think they have a chance to be even better than advertised. I think Arizona has a real shot at winning the Big 12, and they can go crazy in 2024. In today's video, I want to preview the 2024 Arizona Wildcats, go through their roster, talk about their schedule, expectations, and overall, just my thoughts on why they could have a really good year. This will be another preview video, but before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and preview the Arizona Wildcats. To me, it's kind of weird that Arizona is getting a preview, as usually they're at the complete bottom of my list, and I don't even get to cover usually a third of Power 5 teams. The fact that Arizona has legitimate hype and is considered an upper tier program this year is pretty cool to me. And first, we should talk about last season before we talk about this year. In terms of going into the 2023 season, there was really no reason to believe that Arizona football was going to have the season they had. Yeah, they had a couple of good players returning, such as Tetairoa McMillan, Jacob Cowing, and Jayden de Laura, but they had not really shown that much over the last 2 years, and there was really no reason to believe that they would break out. The voters ended up picking them to finish 8th out of 12 teams in the Pac-12, but they would end up having a huge season. In week 1, they would take care of Northern Arizona before a huge matchup against Mississippi State on the road. In this game, Jayden de Laura was the quarterback, and after going to overtime, de Laura scrambled for a first down, and I think they got screwed. I still to this day think that de Laura got the first down, but replay said he didn't, and the game would end up ending there and their first loss of the season would happen. I don't know if that enraged the locker room or something, but from there, Arizona football played insane. They played UTEP and destroyed them before they would go on the road and beat Stanford. They are now 3-1, and then they'd have an extremely difficult stretch. The first one was a home matchup against Washington, and this game was actually super close. In a battle with a team that made it to the national championship, Arizona only lost by 1 touchdown. Sadly though, going into their game against number 9 USC, Jayden de Laura was now out, and in came Noah Fifita. He's the guy who really helped change the trajectory of the season, as Fifita would have an insane first half against USC, and would duel it out with Caleb Williams. On the road against the Trojans, they would end up going to 3 overtimes, but they would end up losing 43-41. At this point, they are now 3-3, and it looked like their season was starting to fall apart, but at the same time, there was so much positive momentum. This is where things get fun. After that, they go on the road and beat number 19 Washington State 44-6, and this was the moment when everyone knew Arizona football was different. After that, number 11 Oregon State would come to town, and in a duel against DJ Uiagalelei, Noah Fifita beat him, and they added a second straight win over a ranked team. They'd end up adding a third straight win, as they would then beat number 19 UCLA, before they'd go on the road to Colorado and win by way of a game-winning field goal. This was a big deal because Colorado got a ton of hype all year. From there, they'd play against number 22 Utah at home, and Arizona would destroy them. Not only were they winning these games, but they were winning them big. They had blowouts against 3 ranked teams in their last 5 games, and they would carry this into the Territorial Cup, as they would dismantle Arizona State 59-23. When Arizona jumped into the polls on November 11th, this was the first time they were ranked since 2017. It had been a long 6 years for Wildcats fans, but now they're selected to play in the Alamo Bowl, where they would play against number 12 Oklahoma. Just like the last few weeks, Arizona pretty much controlled this game, and they would win 38-24. This was a monumental season for Jedd Fisch, as he won Pac-12 Coach of the Year, and some thought he had the most impressive season of any coach. In terms of how the team did, Noah Fifita blew up. He threw for nearly 3,000 yards and 25 touchdowns, and he had a plethora of running backs helping him out. Both DJ Williams and Michael Wiley also had big years, and their former blue chip running back Rayshawn Luke also got a chance to get on the field more. The wide receiver room was extremely impressive, as Tetairoa McMillan caught 90 passes for 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns, and the former UTEP transfer Jacob Cowing ended up also catching 90 passes for 848 yards and 13 touchdowns. The two of them became one of the best duos in all of college football, and this was pretty insane. Arizona also had Jacob Manu, who had over 100 tackles on defense, and Taylor Upshaw had 8.5 sacks as a linebacker. Arizona's football season was absolutely insane, as they ended up going 10-3 with a 7-2 record in the Pac-12 and finished ranked number 11 in the country. But not everything went perfect for Arizona. Because Fisch had so much success, he ended up deciding to take the head coaching job at Washington after Kalen DeBoer left for Alabama. This came as a shock to some, but apparently the Arizona financials and some behind the scenes stuff is really difficult right now. Plus, Washington is a step up, so I guess I understand it for a couple of reasons, but I wish Jedd Fisch would have stayed. Who did the Cats decide to hire? Well, they went out and got Brent Brennan. In my opinion, he was one of the more interesting hires from the 2024 carousel, as after playing wide receiver at UCLA, he's quickly rose through the ranks and he spent a ton of time at San Jose State. He eventually became the head coach there in 2017, and in total he'd go 34-48. While on paper that doesn't sound great, he made bowl games in 3 of his last 4 years, had the team ranked in 2020, and San Jose State does not exactly have a ton of prestige. Brennan is a little bit more of an old school coach who takes time to build things, and once he has a system, it works out really well. Still though, some wonder if he can actually take Arizona to new heights, but now he'll have more talent, more resources, and more of an opportunity to prove himself. Going into the 2024 season, when you take a look at the Arizona roster, they brought in a couple of big names. This included 2 4-stars in running backs Jordan Washington and quarterback Damon Williams Jr., but sadly both of them would transfer to follow Fisch at Washington. This was a huge loss, and their recruiting class kind of fell into shambles after this. Brennan did most of his work in the transfer portal as he brought in a couple of big names. Got an edge rusher from Stanford, a corner from Miami, an offensive tackle from San Diego State, and a former big-time recruit in Marquise Groves-Killebrew, who was originally part of that insane Texas A&M class and spent a year at Louisville with some sort of weird injury situation. For the most part, looking at their transfer class, they got 24 of them, and they're all pretty much 3-star players. I really have no idea how any of them are going to do, but it seems like there's a lot of depth here and there could be some hidden gems. I gotta be honest here, I'm not even going to try to project a depth chart, as I've done a lot of research but can't really find that much, and I'm not going to pretend I know a ton about Arizona. I'm just trying to preview the team, and we're going to talk about the most important players on this roster though. Obviously that starts with the quarterback, and the guy we need to really focus on is Noah Fifita. Fifita was only a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, but he has played like a 5-star talent. In my eyes, Fifita is the best quarterback in the Big 12 this upcoming season, and he is someone that is just unbelievably fun to watch. The team is going to live and die by him, and behind him you have Anthony Garcia, who transferred in from San Jose State. You also can't forget former 4-star recruit Braden Dorman, and it looks like Brent Brennan has a good quarterback room to work with. At the running back spot, you're going to have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, as he ended up transferring in from New Mexico. I think he was the guy who flirted around with transferring to Ole Miss, but after putting up over 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns, Merritt should take over as the #1 running back on the team. Another guy who we really need to watch out for is Rayshawn Luke, as he went to St. John Bosco and was nearly a top 200 player in the country. They also have a solid third option in Quayle Conley, as he ran for nearly 1,000 yards and 10 scores at San Jose State. I like their running back room a lot, but I'm really excited for their wide receiver room. Going over to that spot, we first have to talk about Tetairoa McMillan. Coming in of Hawaii, he was nearly a 5-star recruit and flipped from Oregon to Arizona, and McMillan has produced. In my opinion, he's the #1 wide receiver in the Big 12 this year, and will be a first-round draft pick when it's all said and done. Behind him, you have guys like AJ Jones and Montana Lamonius Craig, as they should both have a role on the team as well. I'm also expecting Malachi Riley to get a chance to play on the field, and then a guy like Devin Hyatt is also someone I'm extremely excited to watch. Part of that is because he's the brother of Jalen Hyatt. Switching over to the defensive side of the ball, some of the key guys to watch out for are linebacker Jacob Manu, who had a breakout season last year, corner Takario Davis, defensive tackle Bill Norton, free safety Gunnar Maldonado, and linebacker Justin Flo, who was a huge deal coming out of high school. Some of the guys they added who I'm really excited to watch are Marquise Groves-Killebrew, as maybe he will finally live up to his high school status, and then also defensive ends Trey Smith and Chuba May. There's obviously a few more names I left out, as honestly I just don't know this team that well, but those are the guys you need to watch out for. So now that you know how they did last year, the key players, the personnel changes, how is Arizona going to do in 2024? That's the big question many of you guys are probably asking, and as we take a look at their schedule, it lines up somewhat nicely for them. In week 1, they're going to play against New Mexico at home, and that will be a win. In week 2, they're going to play against Northern Arizona, and that will also be a win. They're going to start out at 2-0 before they have a very rude awakening to conference play, and this will determine how the season goes. First, they'll go on the road to Manhattan, Kansas to play against Kansas State, and honestly, I'm extremely high on the Wildcats. I really love Avery Johnson, and I love the running back they got from Colorado, and K-State's a tough team to beat. Honestly, I don't think Arizona's going to win this, as this will be their first tough game of the year, and K-State's nearly impossible to beat at home. This will put them at 2-1. After that, they go on the road to play against Utah, and that's another game that's really difficult to pick here. Many think that Utah is the best returning team in the Pac-12, and to me, it's going to depend on Cam Rising. If he's as good as advertised, then they're going to be fine, but if he sucks, then I don't know if Utah's more than an 8-win team. Either way though, I can't really see Arizona winning either of these two games, and that's going to put them at 2-2. But just like last year, after starting out at 500, first they play at home against Texas Tech, who in my opinion is just an average Big 12 team, and will be stuck in that logjam to win 6 or 7 games. This game's at home, and Arizona will not want to drop 3 in a row. After that, they go on the road to BYU, and I'm not really high on BYU either, as they have another one of those extra year eligibility, 5th-time transfer quarterbacks in Gary Bohannon, and I don't even know if BYU makes a bowl, so that's another win for Arizona. After that, they play at home against Colorado, and as many of you guys know, I think the Buffs are overrated. Will this be a game? I think so, but I think Arizona wins that. After that, we probably get to the 3rd toughest game on their schedule, and that is at home against West Virginia. The Mountaineers are getting a decent amount of hype, as Neil Brown really needs to win big this year, and we saw the emergence of Garrett Green at quarterback by the end of last season. This is another game that I think will be close, but I also think that Arizona is going to win. After that, they go on the road to UCF. This, in my opinion, is the biggest trap game on the schedule, as this is a game that's far away from home, and it's going to depend on how good KJ Jefferson is. Gus Malzahn's also a good coach, but I'm going to say Arizona wins this one. After that, they come home and play against Houston, and I think that's a win. And then they finish the year with TCU and Arizona State. While I think Arizona is really good, I don't know if they're going to be able to win 7 straight games. I had to determine which team I thought they were going to lose to, and I'm going to say they drop a dumb one to TCU. I don't really know why, that's just my gut instinct, as I think TCU is going to bounce back under Sonny Dykes, and TCU is going to beat them in some sort of nail-biter crazy finish, and that'll give Arizona their 3rd loss. After that, they'll come home and play against Arizona State, and I'm not really much of a believer in Arizona State right now. That'll be another win. That puts Arizona at 9-3, but honestly, I might have been way too hard on them. There's a real chance that they could beat both Utah and TCU as well, and that would put them at 11-1. I think their ceiling is 12-0 and their floor is 9-3, but ultimately you never know how the college football season goes, plus it's Brent Brennan now and not Jedd Fisch, so I'm going to be a little bit more critical of them and say that Arizona goes 9-3. This would not get them into the college football playoff unless there was some really weird stuff that went on, but it would still be a good year for Arizona and a really good first season for Brent Brennan. That's just my thoughts though. But what do you guys think? If you're an Arizona or college football fan, what do you think of this year's Arizona team? And what player or team should I preview next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all of their videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.